good morning, friends. It's Tracey and Violet. Come on, Violet. There. From Tea Time with Tracey and Violet. We're not having tea right now. We're having coffee because it's 5:30 in the morning. We just got back from our walk, and I thought I might as well talk to you about a book I stayed up till midnight last night to read. Just let me have a whiff off of this coffee. Ooh, that's hot. That spoon's hot. I got my big cup. Glorious. Just wonderful, just wonderful. Anyways, I read that last book of Tillie Cole's. I know my last video was this, and I devoured the last book in the Scarred Souls series by Tillie Cole. If you didn't see my last video, or there's 4 books in this series, and I did a video about the first 2 books. I had like the bind up of book 1 and book 2 in one single book. Did back in the summer. So I do have videos on all the books in this series except for this one. So I thought, I read it yesterday. I want to talk about it this morning. And this is one series I started and finished all in this handful of months. Now I hadn't picked up, I read this first 2 books back, I don't know if it was in August or something like that, and I didn't pick these up until this month. So, and that's knocked off. That's knocked off. But I was never introduced to Tillie until this year, and absolutely love everything I have read from her. I've read Deadly Virtues series. There's 3 books in that. I read Sick Fox in that. That was, I think, my very first video I ever did on this channel. I love that. I have all of her Hangman series books. I haven't read any of those yet. I plan on starting those next year. And I have her Lord of London Town, or Lords of London Town or something. It's just a standalone book. I'm gonna read that, but not this month. I wanted to finish off the Scarred Souls series, and I'm glad I did. So, this is a mafia romance. Dark. Tillie does dark, okay? Dark. But let me just read the back of it. They call me 901. I am a monster, a killer, a champion. In the blood pit, I am a god. I have no name, no family, no identity. When Master says fight, I fight. Until I am the only one left standing. I have one goal, to fight I have one goal, to fight so well that I am freed. I don't need friends. I don't need a woman. They are weaknesses. I am strong until I see her. She is gorgeous and kind and off limits to me. She was stolen as a child to be the worst type of slave, and now Master wants her. What he wants, he gets. With a smile, she melts my brutal heart, and I have never wanted anything more. I need to make a choice, freedom or love. I cannot choose wrong. So, yes, like I mentioned before in previous videos, these books all you got to kind of read them in order. Each book in the series is with a new couple, but there's an underlying story besides the love story in this. That's a mafia story, kind of. And 901, let me just tell you about him. It doesn't say when he got into these pits, but in this world, there's like blood pits, kind of like gulags, where they take young children, they kidnap, they steal, they buy children at young ages, and then shape them into these brutal fighters. In 901's case, he's a blood pit fighter, which is you fight to the death, like a death match with people. Not only that, growing up, they are abused, they are beaten, they are drugged with different serums to make them go insane. So they get so lethal. And they forget who they were before they even got there. Now, 901 does not remember where he came from or anything like this. This is what they do. And they're kept in cages or like cells. Doesn't even remember what it's like outside. He grew up in this pit. This, in my mind, I picture it a giant underground stadium kind of thing. It's not a nice place to be. The person that runs this is called the Master. And the Master is, throughout these books, he's mentioned throughout these books. He's not the only bad guy in these books, because each book has, you know, different things that they're facing. But all the bad guys in each of the books are all connected. We'll just put it that way. So that's who 901 is. 152 is the woman he's talking about. Now, she is referred to in this book, but 152 is the woman that captivates him in one way or another. Now, 152, she has grown up in this world as well. I had mentioned her, which we didn't know her name or her number. Yeah, when these people are taken, when these young people are taken into this underground crime world, they're stripped of their name and everything, and they have their number tattooed on their chest. The women have it tattooed on their back because it doesn't ruin their appearance or whatever, in case they're sold into sex slavery and things like that. So 152, she was 4 years old when she came to this world with her brother. Her brother was 12, but they're ripped apart. Like, boys go into blood pit, fighting, abuse, all this thing. Girls do the same, only they're not in the blood. They don't do the fighting and things like that. They're taught to be subservient. They're beat down till they are. And then when they get to the age of 14, they're injected with serum. That it depends on your station. It depends on where these young girls are going to be going, what they're doing. But in her case, she was injected with a type B serum, which makes her body go into excruciating pain. And the only way to dull the pain is for her to have sex, pretty much. Like, the end result, when the man, pretty much has an orgasm, that's how it tamps down the pain and the madness. Because when she is in that state, in pain, writhing on the floor, her mind is like, she can't talk, she can't do anything. She's in absolute agony and can't do anything. So it makes her subservient to whatever. So she is used and abused. Now, none of these children are shown affection or love or anything like that during their time there. Like, it's an absolute horrendous upbringing. Absolute. So the Master takes a shine to 152, the girl, and he has for a long time. But in the previous books, she's not in where he is. She's at a different place. But in this book, she is brought to there, and he takes a shine to her. So she doesn't remember, but she wakes up in this nice cushy bed, like a nice suite. And she doesn't ever remember being in a bed, ever remember being anything. She wakes up, her mind is kind of clear. And there's this servant girl, she's only like 16. She comes into the room and half of her face is all melted, like burned. She got, the master threw acid on her face and stuff. Just terrible stuff, terrible stuff. I'm not even telling you half of the stuff. But there's a group of servants or slaves that are the lowest of the low. They don't even have names. They don't even have numbers. They have 000. She was one of these slaves. And she was supposed to be 152's attendant. And 152 is classified as a high Mona. She is the top of the top for the master. And she is the only one, which means she is just to serve the master, nobody else. Whereas anybody below her, anybody can rape the women, like guards, whatever. Like these slaves have no rights whatsoever. So 152 can't even remember who is the master. I don't know who it is. And when he first comes in, he's a tall, handsome looking guy, and he's older though, which whatever. But vicious. And one minute he blows hot and cold because he's nice and calls her kettle and everything. But then after, he just absolutely is like, I don't want to say, like, it's uncomfortable to talk about, but it's absolutely terrible. And after she is used and abused, this little girl comes in and, helps her bath and stuff, and she's sweet, and she's not allowed to talk or anything. And anyways, fast forward a little bit. Sometimes the master would take her around to walk around the pits to see the fighters and stuff. She's not allowed to talk, she's not allowed to do anything, but the master walks around with her on his arm like a piece of jewelry, or, like just to show off. And the master's a sick son of a bitch because he taunts these fighters, and it's insane. But one day he brings 152 with him to stand outside of 901's cell. And 901 is the champion, the pit bull champion. Like, he's the top of the top of the top of the top brutal fighters. And that's where they first meet. Now, the master has brought him up and molded him into being this giant, muscled killer. And other champions, there's only like a handful of top champions, and they're in a separate section of this pit, and he is the top of the top. But other champions are allowed to have their own Monas. Whereas, I know this is kind of confusing, but the master has the high Mona, and the champions have Monas, but they only get to see them once in a while. Like, they'll be, pretty much women are brought to them they can have sex with them and stuff like that. All right. But he, of all his years, he didn't want to have anybody because, a woman will make him weak. And it's not that he doesn't like women, but he doesn't like the master. Nobody likes the master because the master will use the Mona, the women brought to them, as a weapon against them. And this 901 is so good, he can beat anybody in a matter of seconds. The master is glad he has him, but he's mad that he can't control 901 completely because he keeps telling 901 to make more of a show out of it. Don't just go in and slaughter, because I have people investing in this and betting on this, and they want a show. But 901 doesn't understand all this, or he does. He's like, I'm not going to do this. This is my life. I'm going to go in and kill. And so he doesn't listen to him. So one of these days, the master sends 152 down to his cage, and he's not allowed to leave this cage until he has sex with her. And this is his high Mona. And I can't even explain how twisted the master guy is. Like, he wants 901 to have sex with 152, but he doesn't want 152 to like 901 or 901 to like 152. But this is a way to try to get him to kind of like 152, so he can hold her over his head, if you understand what I'm saying. So now 152 has a bracelet around her wrist. It's kind of like people in the past they'd have collars around their neck, but she has a bracelet, and it injects serum into her wrist at different points of the day that makes her body go into that state. So while the first encounter, she's terrified when she's locked into this cell with this big brutal man, and it's dark and it's dank, and he's sitting on his cot and she's huddled over in a corner, and he's mad. He's yelling to the guard, "Get her out of here. I don't want her here. Like, why is she here?" But then they hear a hiss and the bracelet activates, and she is in so much pain. She's whimpering, she's screaming, she's hollering, and it goes from there. And then the next day she's taken out and brought back the next day and the next day until whatever happens, happens. Like, I don't want to tell you the majority of the stuff, but then a match that he goes to fight, and he could easily tear this guy apart within seconds. He looks up at the stands, and it's almost like a throne. This master is just whatever. And he has 152 down by his knee like she's an animal. Oh, no, not that time, but he has 152. The guard has her here and has a knife right to her neck. So he is about to fight and pretty much to say, if you don't draw this out, we're slitting her neck. And 901 knows the master will do this because he has done this to other champions. They kill their Mona right in front of them. And some of these Monas are with these champions for years. So they actually kind of have a relationship. They don't live together, but it's the same Mona that goes to the champions. Anyways, that's the dynamic between 152 and 901. But besides that, the whole other flip side story of this is 152's brother, who is the hero in this book. He, along with other like Luca and Zal, who are in the first two books, are determined to get her back. So in order to do that, they have to come up with a plan. And now Luca, Zal, and Vincent have all been in these kind of gulags in this world, this criminal world. They're out now, but Nelly, they had some brutal upbringings themselves. So they know how to fight and they know how to do everything. So they need to go and infiltrate this blood ring because now there's a big tournament going on, and hope to spring 152. They don't know anything about 901 or anything, but that's what the other flip side is to this story. So the dynamic between 901 and 152, and then the whole grand scheme story that is laced through all these 4 books is coming to an end to try to get everybody back to where they're supposed to be in one giant happy family. So yeah, it's intense. It's intense. It's very angsty because I'm just like, oh my God, I had this tingling in my belly. I'm like, when I was reading this book, this one more so than I can think of the other ones, just because there's so much at risk. And this is the last book. What is going to happen? Like, somebody's got to die. Do they? I don't know. Anyways, I enjoyed this series immensely. I would recommend it as a mafia romance. It's it's mafia, but it's heavy on the brutal underground crime fighting and dynamics, the different levels of crime, I guess. It's not just about mafia. It's about, I don't know how to explain it. Just in regards to the other underground things going on, this whole series is like that, and I really enjoyed it. So I don't want to say too much more, but trigger warnings for sure, for all of these books, for most books that I read, but absolute sexual assault, non-consensual things, gruesome murder, I don't know, kidnapping, I don't know what else, but yeah, it's no joke. It's no joke kind of thing. But I just thought I would talk to you this morning with my morning coffee and tidy that series up lickety split. And I would highly suggest reading this if you're looking for something kind of dark and not light and fluffy, but that has a good story. It's not insta-love at all. None of these books in these series are insta-love. They're hard nut cases to crack in order to come together. Like, they got to work at it. And it's good. The whole big story around it is good. Like, there's smut. Well, it's not even smut. There's sex. There's a lot of story. It's not like sex. It's not like that, but there's a good amount of sex and a good amount of story. So it all balances out, and I really appreciate that. So, all right, guys. Well, with that, I'm going to say peace, love, and happiness today and every single day. Please like, share, and subscribe if you so choose. But if not, that's okay too. I still love you. I still want all the happiness in the world for each and every one of you out there. I certainly do. I really, really honest and truly do. Yes, I do. So, all right, guys. Yeah, it's 5:58 now, so I gotta have my coffee because I gotta start my day, get the kids up, them to school, all that jazz. So, with that, I'm gonna say have a good night or have a good morning, and I might see you tomorrow. Bye. Bloop.